Hi everyone, today in this video we are going to see how to implement API gateway using Spring Cloud gateway, and in this we are also going to implement the service discovery using Netflix Eureka server, and we are also going to achieve the inter-service communication using Feign client. This is what exactly we are going to implement in this video. Like, we are going to implement API gateway using Spring Cloud gateway, and here first, like, we are going to implement the service discovery using Netflix Eureka server. This microservice will register rest of the client microservices with it. It will act as a service registry for all the microservices. Now we are also going to create client microservices like product service and user service. Each one is having its own database, and apart from that we are also going to create one API gateway microservice as well. All these three microservices will act as a client microservice. Now on startup, all these client microservices will register themselves with the service discovery. Next, like, as the request comes in based on the URL path, let's say our path includes slash products as an endpoint. In that case, the API gateway will use its routing logic and determine what next service it should call to. API gateway will further query the service discovery to get the network IP address and port number of the target microservice. And once it receives the network IP address and port number from the service discovery, it will finally route the request to the target microservice. Now in this case we are going to use a local host for the IP. So the API gateway will finally route the request to the product service instance. Now the product service will further process the request and prepare a response and send the response back to the API gateway to the calling microservice. This is how the whole request flow will complete for the API gateway, and what we are going to implement for the product endpoint. Similar way, we are also going to implement for some other endpoint, which includes the users endpoint slash users. So for this URL which includes the users endpoint, for that the API gateway will route the request to the appropriate user service, and the user service send the response back to the API gateway to the calling microservice. We are also going to cover the one more scenario, like in which the URL will contain slash users slash products and slash 2. 2 is nothing but the user ID. Basically, the purpose of this URL is to get all the products based on the user ID 2. Now in this case, like, it involves the inter-service communication from the user service to the product service. Like, the call will get initiated from the user service, and the user service will further interact with the product service to get all the list of products for the given user ID. In this, we are going to use Feign client methodology to communicate, to have a communication in between multiple microservices. Now we have different approaches, like we can go for REST template, web client, or Feign client. Feign client being the good one for inter-service synchronous communication, we have chosen this Feign client. Finally, the product service, based on the user ID input, finally the product service will process the request and send back the list of products for the given user ID. And this will give response back to the user service. User service will give response back to the API to the calling microservice. This is how all these three requests we are going to cover in this tutorial, which will cover everything like service discovery and inter-service communication with Feign client and API gateway, and how we can achieve all this routing part for all the incoming requests. So all these things we are going to implement in this video. So I will request you all to please do not forget to like, subscribe and share, and please watch this video from start to end so that you will not miss any step in between. Now this is the project folder wherein we are going to create multiple microservices. We can copy this path and we can open the Spring Tool suite, and here we can copy our copied project folder, and we can click on launch button. Now first we will create our service discovery microservice. For that we can click on this create new Spring starter project, and here we can give our service name, which is, we can keep service discovery, and here for type we can choose Maven, packaging as a jar, language as a Java, and version we are going to use 21 as a Java version. So here we can keep some group like it's a discovery, and for this artifact we can keep as is, version as is, and here we can say service discovery microservice as a description, and here we can add com.discovery. You can verify it once, and once everything is fine you can click on next button. Now on this page we are going to add the dependency. So first dependency we can add Spring Web. Next, like we are going to use Eureka discovery client, so this should be Eureka server, because we are going to create the Eureka server with this discovery service. Now here we can click on next, and finally we can click on finish button. Now you can see it has created one project folder successfully with name service discovery, and it has created all the project files and folder as a by default. Now we can open this pom.xml file and cross check all the dependency. We have Spring Web, and this is the Netflix Eureka server. Now let us create one properties file, like we can use application.properties file, or we can create one YAML file. So let us create one YAML file with the same name. So we can choose file, and here we can use YAML. Inside that we are going to choose like what port we are going to use, like we can define any port, like each service should have some different port. Each service should be running on some different port, so we have keep 8761. Next, like we are going to give some name to our application, like spring.application. This is the third we can choose, and here we can give it's a service discovery as a service. Next, like we are going to use Eureka dot client dot we can use register we can use register with Eureka, which should be false, because it is acting as a service discovery wherein all the client microservices are going to register with. And here we have another like fetch registry, which we are going to use as a false. So with this we are done with our application.yaml file. Now next thing what we can do, like we need to go to our starting point of our application. This is the service discovery application. Here we need to enable one annotation we need to use, like enable Eureka server, because this is going to be act as a service discovery wherein all our client microservice are going to register with. Now next thing, this pom.xml file is showing some red, so let us resolve that by using HTTPS instead of HTTP, and we can save it. Now with this we are done with our service discovery coding part. Now let us build it and check. We can right click and choose run as Maven install. And we can see it's a build success. Now let us run it and check. It has started successfully on port 8761. Now let us run by using 8076. Now we can see it is running successfully. This is the Eureka service, like Netflix Eureka dashboard, wherein it will show all the instances which are running. Now here this is the instances currently registered with Eureka. Right now it is not showing any application instance because we have just created the service discovery. Now once we create the client microservices and run it, that time they will register with the Eureka service, and that time once they register, then we can see the instances at here. Now what all things we have done to create our service discovery, like we have added the dependency for this, like we have added Netflix Eureka server and Spring Web dependency. Next, like we have created one YAML file wherein we have mentioned a server port, application name, and this is the important property, like we have made Eureka client register with Eureka as a false, because this service itself is going to act as a server which is not going to register with any other service. And this is the face registry, which is we are going to make it as a false, because we are going to make it as a service discovery wherein all our client microservices are going to register with. Now we have successfully created service discovery. Now let us create one more service which will act as a client microservice. Now here we can right click and select new Spring Starter project. And here we can give our service name. Let's say it's a product-service. Now we are going to create our service Eureka client discovery, and here for type we can choose Maven, and for version we can select 21 as a Java version, and here we can use products. We can artifact and version we can keep as is, and here we can say product microservice with Eureka client, and for package we can add com.products. You can verify it once, and once everything is good we can click on next button. Now this is the page where we need to add all the dependency, like we can add Spring Web first, H2 database dependency is there, JPA data we need to add, Spring Data JPA. Next we are going to make it as a Eureka discovery client, we need to add, and finally we can add Lombard dependency. So this many dependency is fine. We can click on next button, and finally we can click on finish button. Now this is our product service. Now we can open our form.xml file and we can cross check whether all the dependencies is there or not. Now let me introduce you in a short way. Like this is the Spring Data GPA. We can use annotations available in it to create our repository and entity class, which will be mapped with our database tables. With this Spring Web, we can create we can make use of available annotations, like we can create our REST controller, and we can make use of other annotations to create our APIs. And this is the Eureka client. To make this service as a Eureka client which will get registered with our service registry, for this we need this dependency. This is the H2 database which we are going to use, and this is the Lombard dependency through which like we are going to reduce the boilerplate code, and this will help us to create the getter setters for our beans. So this is about all the dependency we have added. Now it is showing read to pom.xml. So here we can replace HTTP with HTTPS and we can save it. Now first thing we can do, like we can create a configuration part. For this we can remove this default application.properties file, and we can copy the application.yaml from our service discovery and put it into our product service. Now let us make some appropriate changes, like we can define some port number for this one. For every microservice we should define some separate port, and here we can give some name, like it's a product -service as a name. And for Eureka, register with Eureka, it should be true because this is the client microservice and we need to register it with Eureka discovery. We can save it. Next thing, like here we can add like service URL. Next, like we are going to make it as an default zone, and we need to add HTTP. Like we need to add our service discovery path 8761, and it's a Eureka. Next we need to add data source, and for data source we are going to add a URL. All these red which are related to the indentation issues we are going to resolve once we are done with these entries. We can add JDBC MAME, and after that we can use after JDBC we should use H2. After that we can use MAME, and here we can give our database name. Let's say product DB. As we are using the Spring Boot application, by default the H2 database is configured with that one, and we need to just add the H2 database dependency. Now here we can add driver class name, and here we can add org.h2.driver. Next we are going to add username. Let's say some username. Let's say it's a, or we can say it's a user. We can say dev user, and password we can add. We can say dev user @123. We can set any username and password. Next we are going to add H2 console as a true. This is the H2 console enabled, or we can cut this part and add it here, a database which is similar to it at this data source level. And enabled as a, we can make it as a true. Next thing we need to add JPA, and we can use JPA which is hibernate, and next we can use DDL auto as an update, and after this we can use like show SQL to print the queries which we are going to run into the console, which we can see into the console with this option show SQL. We can use true, and finally we can use database like platform. For that we need to use org.hibernate.dialect, and what is the dialect, which is H2 dialect we are going to use for H2 database, and we can save it. Now what we can do, we can copy all this part because it is showing a lot of errors. Now let us open Notepad++, and I will show you how we can resolve this issue. And here we can select all, we can use Alt F, we can go to the replace, and here we can choose the tab which is the /t, and here we can give 2 places for tab, and you make sure you are choosing the regular expression, and you can say replace all. Now it has replaced all the tabs available in this with the 2 places. Now we can copy this part and we can paste it here. Now it is still showing some errors, like for here seems good, there was space was needed, and we have added. With this we are done with our application YAML for this one. Now let us create the required packages for this one. Now first we can create our entity package. Next we can create the repository package. Next we are going to create service package, and finally we can create the controller package. And now let us create our entity class first. Now here we can create choose like we are going to create a class with a name like it's a product. Let us add all the necessary annotations like it's all our constructors @ no our constructors @ data @ like getter and @ setter, and finally we can add entity for this. Like this class is going to act as an entity, so we have added this one. Now next thing, like here we need to add the properties inside this class. Like this is the product. Now here we can first add, so it should be small private, let's say long id. Next we are going to use private string name. Next we are going to use private string category, and finally we are going to use private integer price, or you can select choose select or integer type for the price, and we can save it. Now here for the id we need to add the id annotation, and how we are going to generate it's a primary field, so how we are going to generate the id, so that we need to mention, like we can use generated value. This is the annotation, and we need to mention what strategy we are going to use to generate the IP address. Like we can use generated type generation type as an auto, and we can save it. With this we are done with our entity creation. We have created product entity successfully with all these properties inside this one. Now next thing, we can create one repository. For this we can select the interface, and here we can name it like it's a product repository. Now here we need to add repository annotation. Next this repository should extend like JPA repository, and here we are going to use this product entity class, and what is the type of primary field, which is a long, and we need to add annotations for this one. Now we can save it. With this we have created the repository successfully. Now let us create our service interface first. It should be interface, and here we can give like product service name. We can add it's an interface, so we do not need to add any annotation. Now here we can mention what all methods we are going to use in this. Like first is we are going to retrieve all the list of products. You can say get products method, which will return all the products, or we can say fetch products. Next we can add one create product method or add product, which will add a new product to the database, and this is our new product. And here we can add one more thing, like here because we are going to create one user service, and based on user ID it should return over the list of we can copy this method and we can repeat it here. Now based on user ID it should return the list of products. For that we can say get products by user ID, and here we need to add long user ID, and we can save it. Now let us create one class, and here we can use we can give a name like it's a product service IMPL, which will provide the implementation for all the methods which are available inside the class, inside interface, which is a product interface. We can add all the unimplemented methods for this, and here we can define auto add for we need to inject like product repository, so that we can call methods which are available on this product repository. We need to add imports. Okay, fine. Now here we can return we can call the respective method like find all, which will return all the products available in the database. Next we are going to save the product. So this is the new product we need to pass, and finally we are going to return like we have product repository, and we can find. Now for this to use, like we are going to pass the user ID, so we need to define one method inside the product repository, so that it will return all the like list of items, list of products based on user ID. So we can use find products by user ID, and inside this we can add long user ID. And we can save it. Now here we can call that method like what is the method which is available, find products by user ID, and the same method we can call from here, and we can add the user ID as an input. We can save it. With this we are done with our service implementer class. Now here we need to add annotation, which is a service, which is a stereotype annotation we need to add. Finally we can create our controller class. We can save it, and we can use this option like here we can use product controller, and here we can add a REST annotation, REST controller, and here we need to inject our service like we can use, which is a product service, so that we can call the respective methods which are available inside this product service. Now here we can add one get mapping URL. Now here we can add some endpoint, like let's say here, which is the products, which will return the list of product, and the method name we can give as a like fetch products. No need to pass any request params, and here we are going to call the respective method which is available on the service, fetch products. We need to add imports for this list, seems good. Now instead of returning the list of products, we can return the response entity, which is a better way, and here we can wrap this return type to response entity. Response entity has other additional fields like status and all we can make use of. And we can add import. Seems good. With this we are done with our first method. Now let us add one more method inside this controller. Now here we can add one post mapping which will allow us to add one new product into the database, and here we can use like this is the products, or what we can do, we can copy this part and edit it here, and we can only change to get to post, and the response entity as is, it should return an individual product. We can name it like create product, and inside this we need to add the request body, and we can say it's a product input product and new product we are going to add. Here we can call the respective method like create product, and we can pass this new product to this method, and we can save it. So this is for creating a new product using the post mapping to the database. Now let us add one more method which will return all the products based on the user ID. Now here we can give some endpoint like it should be users start with, and next we are going to add products, and here we are going to pass user ID. For this user ID it should return all the products. Only we can use this much is enough, like products and user ID. Okay, fine. And here it should return the list of product, and here we can say fetch products by user ID, and here we can use like path variable, and for this path variable we can use long, and this is the user ID which is a long, and we are going to pass this call the respective method which is available for fetching products by user or get products by user. This is the respective method, and here we can pass the user ID, and we can save it. With this we are done with our controller creation. Now let us build our project and test this service how it goes. Now let us build this using run as maven install. Okay, so let us comment out the test for the time being and check how it goes. We can rebuild it again. Seems good. It's a build success. Now let us run it. So before we run, we can check our Eureka service, and here we can see it is showing no instance as of now because we have not created any client microservice and run it. Now let us run our client microservice, which is a product hyphen service. It is showing some error, product service error creating. So it is showing some error inside service or creating the product service IMPL. This is the product repository to add. Let us check. This is the repository, which is a JP repository. Here we have defined one method which will return list of product based on the user ID. Okay, here we need to add one more field, like we need to enable this is the Eureka client, so we need to add Eureka discovery client annotation. This is what we need to use, and we can save it. Now let us check. Let us run it again, like we can run the discovery first, and next we can build this. And we can run this product service. Okay, so here product service IMPL. Now we can go to the controller part. Okay, so actually for this product entity we have not defined any user ID field, only price, till price we have defined. So let us use that, because we are going to fetch list of product based on the user ID. So for this we need to add user ID as well. So this is the user ID, and we can save it. Now it will run successfully. Now we can build it first. Now let us run it. We have two services. Now it is running. Now let us check our discovery service, which is at here. Seems good. Now it is showing the product service running, and here the number of instances which are currently registered with the Eureka product service, it is showing as expected. Now let us cross check by running it, like we can test the APIs which are there inside this one. We can first call API, which is get products. Let's say here we can use products, which will return all the products which are there inside database. 8081, what is the port name we have mentioned? Let us cross check. 8085, we can copy it and use the same port name as is. Now it is showing the empty list, because which is as expected, because we have not added any product as of now. So let us add one product. So let me copy one product, and here name Inspiron, or here is like what is the category. we can say it's a laptop, and price and user ID we can keep as is. It's not showing anything. Okay. Now let us rebuild it, because we need to clean this and then run it again. Sometimes there is a cached build, so which will not run. So let us clean it first. Now let us rebuild it using maven install, and let us run it now. Seems good. Now it is registered. Now let us test it again. Like this is the products, and here we can send it again. Now it seems good. Now it has, we can see one product is added successfully. Now similar way we can add one more product, like let's say we can say it's a Dell, which is again laptop, and here we can add some price, like let's say 20,000 somewhere, and the quantity we can say 5 HP, and it's a laptop, we can say it's a 25 price, and quantity we can say 7. Not a quantity, here user ID. So we can keep user ID same as 5, because we want to check for list of atoms for the same user ID. So we can add this. We can add this. Now we have 2 atoms of, now here, and here we can add ASUS, let's say 27, or Apple we can add, and let's say 77,000, and user ID we can keep as is. Now let us check by calling the get method how many atoms are there. Now we have these many atoms, 1 2 3 4 atoms. Now if we check by calling the user ID for 3, it will show only 1 record, and for user ID 5 it will show 3 records. Okay. Now all the APIs are working fine, which are there in the REST controller. So we have tested all these through Postman. With this we have successfully created our client microservice, which is a product service, and we have registered with the Eureka discovery client. Now let us create one more client microservice. Now we can choose a new Spring Starter project, and here we can create one, let's say user service, and here instead of products we can say it's a users. This is the user client microservice which we are going to register with Eureka server, and here we can say it's a users. We can click on next, and here we need to add what all dependency we are going to use. We are going to use Spring Web, like H2 database, Spring Data JPA. Next it is going to act as a Eureka discovery client, and finally we are going to add Lombac. So this much is enough. We can click on next and finish. Now we can see it has created successfully this service. Now let us copy the data properties file, which is application.yaml, and add into the newly created user service. Here we can delete this. Now here we can make the necessary changes related to the user service. Let's say we can change the port 8086, and here we can use user-service, and register with Eureka as a true, because this is going to be act as a client microservice. And here we can use some different database, like let's say it's a user DB. If you want to change the username and password, you can change or keep it as is, and we can save it. Now let us create the respective packages. We are going to use entity. Next we are going to use repository. Next we are going to add service package, and finally it's a controller package we are going to add. Now apart from all these packages, we need to add one more package like with name model, because we are going to retrieve a product list of product from the product service. Now so this one. Now here we need to add one more dependency which is related to the Feign client. So we have not added, so let us add that. This is our user dependency, user service form.xml file. First we can resolve this issue. We can use HTTPS it here. Now here we need to add one more dependency which was missing, like we are going to use Feign client. So let us copy some part from here and we can paste it. Now we can make the changes, as we are going to use Spring Cloud packages as is. Now here we can use Spring Cloud starter. Instead of this part we are going to use open Feign. And we can save it. This much is enough. Now next thing, like with this, like this open Feign will help us to communicate, make a communication in between two client microservices. So for this we need this one. We can either use a REST template or web client or this Feign client. So we are choosing this option. Now let us add the respective like first we can enable it as an Eureka client, so we can add the changes. This is the annotation we need to add. Next we can create one entity with name users. Sorry. Here we can use user details, DTLS. Let us add the annotations which are required, like we can copy the annotations from here. And we can copy the properties. We can copy this much and we can paste it and we can change it. Now here user name is there for this one. Now here we are going to use, instead of ID we are going to use user ID, name, and we can remove this part, and city we can add. This much is enough for now, and we can save it. With this we are done with our user details entity class. Now let us add one repository. So here we can create one interface with name user repository, and here we can add the repository annotation which will extends JPA repository, and here we can add like user details class which has type of long for primary, and we can save it. We need to add import, can save it. Now let us create our service interface next. Like we can use here, like let's say user service, and we can add all the necessary methods, like it should return a list of user with method like fetch all users. Next, like we are going to add user or create user, and here we are going to pass this new user, and finally we are going to return list of users, like we can say get all users by user ID, or here we are going to return the list of product for the particular user ID. Okay, so this we can add list of product for particular user ID. We can add imports, like this should be user DTLS, and we can use for all these. And for this we need to let us add import for all these. This is again user DTLS. Now for this product we need to create one model class. For that we can copy the product entity, which is it here, and we can add it inside this model. Now here it is not as an entity, it is just a plain bean, and we can save it. Now these annotations are not required, and we can save it. Now here we need to import this model, import this product which is inside this model. So just keep in mind that we have product bean which is available in product service, as well as we need to create one product service inside user, because we are going to fetch list of product based on the user ID. For that reason we need to create one model class with name product inside user service. With this we are done with our interface part. Now let us create one implementer class with name like user service IMPL, and it should implements like user service interface, and we are going to annotate it using service level stereotype. Now let us add all the unimplemented methods which are there inside the interface, and here we are going to inject or auto wire we can use here our user repository, and we can save it. We can add wired. Okay, now we can use this user repository to get the respective data. Like let's say we are going to fetch all the users which are there inside the database, we can save it. Similar way we can save the user by calling the save, and here we are going to pass this new user. And finally we are going to return the list of product by calling this method. Now in this case we are going to use, like, our user service is going to call the product service and get the product details for the particular user ID which we are going to pass. Now here we need to pass the user ID at here, which is of type long, let's say user ID. So we need to correct this, and similar way we need to pass this long user ID. Now here to make this communication happen, we need to create one Feign client class for this. Now let us create one Feign client class. And basically it should be the interface, not a class, and we can name it like it's a product service Feign client. Now here we can add respective annotations like it is a Feign client, and for this like we are going to use some name like we are going to use product hyphen service. So this client is for calling the product service methods or APIs. So we are giving the Feign client for product service. Now let us add one get mapping inside this. And here which will return the list of product, and here we can say get products by user ID. Next we can add like path variable, can pass this user ID, and here which is of type long user ID. Now let us add the import. Now this is the product, we need to complete it and we can save it. With this we are done with our Feign client. We have created the interface. Now we can use this interface inside our service class. And here we can use we can create one public constructor for this user service. Inside that we can pass this Feign client, and here we can use this dot Feign client as in we can pass this and we can save it. So with this we are done with our service part. So let us check what all things we have done. Now here we have defined this is the Feign client and this is the constructor. This is the constructor. Now we need to call the method on this Feign client. So this is our product Feign client, and we can say return dot get product by user ID, and here we are passing the user ID and we can save. Now our service class implementer class is complete. Now we can save it. Now let us create one controller so that it will get completed. We can create one controller with name user controller and we can finish it. Let us add a REST controller for this one. Next we are going to add inject, and that service we are going to inject like which is the user service. Can copy it Next we are going to call one get mapping, and here we can say we can give some path like it's a users, and which will return the list of user, and here we can wrap the response inside a response entity. And the method name like get users. No need to pass any request params. Here we can call the respective method on this user service dot fetch all users, and we are going to wrap the response inside this response entity. And we can add necessary import. So this should be user details which is available. Seems good. We can save it. So this is for getting all the users which are available inside the H2 database. Similar way, we can add one post method which will add the user into the database. Like here, the return type should be a particular single user details, and here we can use like create user, and here we are going to pass like request body. And here we can say it's an user DTLS, and we can say new user we are going to create. We can call the respective method of create user which is available, and we can pass this new user to be created. We can add respective import for respective annotations like this one. It should be request body. Seems good. With this we are done with post mapping. Now we can add one more get mapping which will return all the list of user at like a list of products based on the user ID. So get, we can name it like get products by user ID. So we can give this name, and here we can say users slash products slash based on user ID we are going to retrieve, and we need to add import for this one from model, and here we can call the respective method which will return all the available users for this all the available products. So it will return all the, so here we can rename it like it should be a refactor rename we can use, and we can choose get all products by user ID. Similar way, let us check if it is renamed inside our impl class. Okay, fine. And inside controller we can call the same method get all products by user ID, and here we need to pass the user ID. We can add like path variable, and here we are going to add user ID, and it's a long user ID. The same user ID we are going to pass it here, and we can save it. With this we are done with our all the methods which are there inside this user service. Now let us check by running it. Now we can run it by using, first we can, so here we have enabled the discovery client which seems good, and we should made it like Here we are going to register it with Eureka. This is again fine. Now let us build it and see how it goes. Like we can use run as maven install, which will build it and create one jar file inside the target folder. Now it's a failure. Okay. Now one more thing we need to add, because here we are going to use a Feign client, and through Feign client we are going to call the product service from user service. So for that reason, inside user service we need to enable Feign client it here. Like we can use enable Feign clients. This annotation we can use. Now let us rebuild it again. Now seems good, it's a build success. Now let us run it using run as Spring Boot app. Fine. Now let us check our dashboard of Eureka. Now we have two services. Now user service has registered itself with the Eureka server. These two are the client microservices and are successfully registered with the Eureka service registry. Seems good. Now let us test this API in user service by calling the respective URLs. Like we can open one new tab and select raw JSON, and here we can call HTTP like localhost, and here we are going to use 8086 URL, which is for our user service. Let us cross check it once. 8086 seems good. And what is the endpoint, which is users, and let us hit send button. Now it is showing empty because we have not added any record as of now. So let us add one record. Like we have name, let's say Ramesh. Next we are going to add what all the fields we have used. We can check the entity name and city. Just two fields are enough. And city, let's say Mumbai. Seems good. One entity is successfully added. Similar way we can add one more record, like let's say it's a Sunita, which is from Pune. Now we have two users. Now in product, let us check what is to what user we it's a third. No, this is not a product 5. So we need to create 5 user 5, because for user 5 we have mapped 3 products. Now we have created 2 users. Similar way we can create one more user like Sachin. This is of third. Now let us create one more, let's say Deepak, and finally we can create 5th user, which is, let's say, somewhat Samuel, and it is from, let's say, Paris, and we can send. Seems good. Now let us check. Okay, now let us call the get method and check how many users we have created. These many users we have successfully created. Now we want to test like this API where our inter-service communication is involved. Like we are going to call from user service, we are going to access the product service using the Feign client, which is here, and with this we are going to call this, and let us check. So this Feign client we are going to use for accessing the product service, and we are going to pass the user ID. For this user ID, it should fetch all the products which are available, in product service. Okay, so for this we need to call the URL like endpoint. What endpoint we can use? Users, products, and user ID we can pass. Now let us check. Now this is the users, and products and user ID we can pass 5, which has 3 products associated with it. Now here there is a double slash, we can remove one slash and let us check. Users, products, and which is a 5, 8086, it is users and products. This is the user ID. What it is saying, like path not found. So now let us debug it and check how it is, why it is not working. Now let me put some debug point at here and check. Now let me run it, debug as. Now let us hit this again, like we can pass some valid user ID. Long user ID 5. Okay, so here we have missed the mapping. Inside this we need to add what mapping we are going to use, like it's a our slash products slash, here we need to add user ID, because we have directed to the Feign client which service you should call to, which is a product service. Now we have not mentioned which endpoint it should point to. So this is the endpoint it should point to. Now let us rebuild it. Now let me stop this, and we have this service we can stop. Now we have 2 services running. Fine. Now let us go back, and here we can rebuild it. Now let us run it again. We need to cross check with the Eureka server once again whether it has registered. Seems good. Now let us test it again. Like now, as we are, this is like, oh, this is the category, and where is the username? Now let us create the users again, because as we are using this H2 database, so it will not retain the state of the data, rather once we restart the application it will lose the data, it will not retain the data. So let us add, like we are going to use name for user, and here as first is Ramesh, and for city we can add like Mumbai. This is the first, Sachin, Mumbai. We can add Sandeep, Mumbai, and here we can add Deepak, Mumbai. Now we have 4 user IDs. Now let us add 5th, because to 5th we have assigned products. So we can use like let's say Kevin, which is from London. Seems good. Now let us go back. Let us test our get method, which is inside users, and here we can use like products /5. Now from where we are taking this, like this is our user controller, and here we are passing users, products and user ID. Now let us do that. Seems good. Now for this user ID we have 3 products which are there. If we call the products like from here, for this 5th we can see we have 3 products. This is the 8085. This port is getting used by product service and it is showing 3 products for 5th user ID. Same here we are passing, now we are using the user service, and here we are passing 5th user ID to fetch all the products from the product service, and here it is showing the 3 products which are there. That means it is correctly communicating using Feign client. Now the user service is calling the product service using Feign client to fetch the product details based on the user ID. All the APIs in user service are working fine, and we have successfully registered our 2 services with the Eureka Discovery, and these are the Eureka Discovery clients like product service and user service. Now so far what we have done, like we have created one discovery service using Eureka server, and we have created 2 microservices, like one is a product service which is a client service, and another one is a user service. Both these microservices we have registered with the Eureka Discovery server. Now finally we are going to create our API gateway, and how this API gateway service is, again like we are going to create one client microservice which we are going to register with the discovery service. But how API gateway will work, like let's say if we use the URL with endpoint like products, this API gateway should route our request to the product service, and similar way if our request is ending with the user's endpoint, then this API gateway should take a decision and route this request to the particular service or appropriate service which is a user microservice. So let us create our API gateway and check how it works. Now let us create one more service using this, and here we can name it like it's a API gateway hyphen service. We can select type as a Maven, and we can choose Java version as a 21, and here we can add API gateway. For description we can use it's a API gateway service, and here we can add a package like com.gateway. We can click on next, and here we need to add the dependency. Now this service is this service is will act as an API gateway, so we need to add API gateway which is available inside Spring Cloud routing, so we can add this dependency. Next, this service, though it's an independent service, it should register with the Eureka server, so we can use this as a Eureka discovery client so that we can register it with the Eureka server. Now this is our gateway service. Now let us add the respective part. Like first we can delete this default properties file, and we can copy the properties file from either user service or the product service and add it into gateway service. Now let us make the respective changes, like we can change the port number from 8086 to 8087, and this service is a API gateway service. Now this one we need to register it with the Eureka, which is true. This and this is the service URL default zone. Now this data source part we are not needed, because we are not going to create any database or use any database for this API gateway for now. Now this much part is enough. Now let us add the routing logic at here. Like we want to add, we are going to use cloud, Spring Cloud. Next here we need to add gateway. Next we are going to use MVC, and here we are going to mention routes. Like we can add ID for each route. Let's say it's a product service route. Next we are going to add URI. For this we are going to add like load balancer, and here this is the product hyphen service. And we need to add predicates. Like for predicates we need to mention what is the path, and for path we need to mention for what path it should route the request. We can say it's a products /*. Now this is for product. I will tell you what is the meaning of this one. Let me complete this for the another service, which is for user service, and this is the URI, and we can say it should route to user service, and this is the predicate part, and this is the path for that. And here for user service it should be users path. Now here it is showing the indentation related errors. We can copy this part and we can add somewhere inside this one, and here we can select Alt F, and here we can replace the tab, occurrences of the tab, with 2 spaces. Now let us see, let us replace all this. Seems good. Now we can copy it. Sorry, let us check if we have tab anywhere. No, fine. Now we can copy this part and add it here. Now it has removed all the errors, fixed. Now we can save it. Now we need to add one more thing, like at this application level we need to enable the discovery client, because this is again a client microservice. Now let us build it using run as maven install. Seems good, it's a build success. Now let us run it using run as Spring Boot app. Okay, now let me take you to the resource path and how it will work. Like we have Spring Cloud Gateway dependency, and these are the routes. What it tells, like any URL starting with product should route to the product service, and any URL which has endpoint of a users, it should route to the user service. Okay, so this is the simple meaning. Now let us check by calling the, let us check how many services are running. We have 4 services which are running. We can check the dashboard. API gateway is registered with the Eureka server. Seems good. Now one more thing, like if you want to create, let's say multiple instances of the user service, how we can do that? Like what we can do inside our discovery service, we can write for one user instance we can write this code, and we can make sure we are using the different port for every instance, and for the second instance of the same user service we can use this code, and here we just need to change the port number, and this port number should not get used anywhere and by any service. This way we can create multiple instances and define inside the service discovery. Now for now we can work with a single instance, and let us check our routing logic. Now as we have restarted, now let us see how it shows, like if we have any product. So it is not showing any product, we need to add the product. Okay, so let us rebuild the product service. So this is our product service, we can close this. Now this is our product service. Now we can clean it first. Now let us build it again. Similar way we can clean the user service. Okay, first we need to close the user service which is running. Now we can clean it first. Now we can build it. Now we have two services running. Now we can run the product service. Next we can run the user service again. We have just cleaned it because sometimes it is using the cached data and it will not work as expected. That's why we have just removed the cache content. Now let us check how it works. Seems good. Now it has added the first entry. Now similar way we can add one more, like it's Inspiron, and which is a laptop for user ID 2, and price we can say it's a 50,000. This is for third, and next we can add HP. Price we can say 40,000. User ID we can keep 2 only. Now here we can use one more, like for 2 ID is Asus, and we can add for user ID 1 as well, something like let's say Dell, and we can change some price 32. Now let us check all the products. We have 3-4 products. Now this is for user ID 2 and this is for user ID 1. Okay, now if you check like by calling 2, it will show only all the products which are there for the user ID 2. Now the products URL are working fine. Similar way we can check for the users. Now we have users, and users port number is 8086. Let us check the user service 8086. Now we can see there are no data as such for users. No data we need to add. Let us add first entry. Sorry, we need to use post. Sachin from London. Now Kiran from, let's say, Delhi. Now this is the user ID 2. Now we have 2 users. Let us check. We have 2 users. Seems good. Now for this user ID 2 we have number of products available. These many products we have mapped. Now by now we were calling using this particular port number of every service. Now let us call by using the API gateway. Now API gateway is running on port. What is the port of API gateway? It is 8087. We can use the same port and see how it works. 8087. Now we can simply add users as an endpoint. It should call the users service internally. So let us check. Now it is calling the user service. If we add products with the same port number, it should go to the, it should say, show the all the products. Seems good. We are using the port number of the API gateway and adding different URLs, and accordingly it is calling the different services for different endpoints. Okay. Now in one service, like for one endpoint, like this is the endpoint where our user service is calling the product service and get all the list of products for a particular username. Now this is where the internal service communication is involved, and we are using the Feign client. Let us check this URL how it works. Now first here we can use like users/products/2 and we can send, and here make sure you are using the API gateway port number. Seems good. It is showing all the user ID 2 related data, and it is fetching all the products for user ID 2. That means all the URLs are working fine with the API gateway. This way we have created all the successfully all the 4 microservices. First is a service discovery, second or 3 client microservices we have created, and we have seen how API gateway is working with all its routing functionality. I hope you must have enjoyed this, and I will request you all to please do not forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for watching this, and stay tuned to watch the incoming videos as well.